Well, good morning. It's Sunday morning, and I'm trying a little experiment out here with this. I'm going to see if I can draw, record screen, talk at the same time, using Movavi Video Suite, I think it's called, and the record screen function. It's a lovely sunny day here, and I'm indoors playing with this. That's what happens with social media. Anyway, where I've got to is that I've scanned in the drawing that I've done in previous YouTube videos, my serendipity one. And yesterday I started adding colour digitally to it. I cleaned the image up a bit, I've edited it a bit, but not too much. There's the imperfections mostly that are there, and no doubt I'll end up closing spaces and things as I find them, and perhaps removing little ink spots like there's one over here. Hopefully you can see that with the cursor. So here we go. Let's see if I can... Oh, this didn't work yesterday, which is fantastic. It seems I have to put my whole computer into tablet mode to use the pen. Otherwise I've got to use the mouse for everything. So this is the select tool, which is fabulous when I want to make lots of areas a very similar colour. I'm going to go to this, which is my lovely tool, change the size, because surprisingly, because I scanned this in at high resolution. For those who are technically minded, I scanned it in at 600 dpi. That basically means there's lots of pixels in the width, because ultimately dpi doesn't mean anything much except the number of pixels in the finished image. So what I've got here is I've got this brush, which I think is one of the ones that came with the software, which is Clip Studio Paint, and it's a watercolour brush, and I've adjusted it slightly because I don't particularly want to mess about with pressure on my pen. I prefer to build depths of colour up with layers. As you can see, I'm beginning to do that here. And I've got a slight watercolour edge, so I don't know whether you'll notice that unless I sort of like come in, is that when I finish with this, hang on, I need to change the colour. It's my palette, it's my custom palette down here. I want to change the size of this brush so that I can you see that once I finished, it sort of like carries on growing a bit as if it's bleeding in. I really like that. I haven't got it set to very much, but what I like to do is to add random dots to give that different depth of colour. Something that, I don't know, I just find things like this really, really difficult to do with traditional media, whereas with this it's simpler, it's more effective, and for me, more effective. It's not, I said it's simpler, it's not simpler. It's learning the tools, it's learning how they work, and it's learning how to make them, I suppose, sing for you, sing for me. No doubt I'm not using this in a way that other people would, and to be honest with you, I'm trying to get over that, whether I'm doing something right or not. Purists will say that's not how you use that, that's not how it's supposed to be used. Says who? I am trying to find my way through art somewhat. That's nice because I want this more of a golden tone so I can layer some yellow over. Now with watercolour this would work, you could glaze it, but I've just have a nightmare with watercolour, and this is something interesting to do. What's my opacity like? Lots of different modes of pens here. I usually use normal and multiply, sometimes soft like this brush, though I've got other brushes or other tools that do things that way as well. But for this one I want some multiply because this will add colour, but it also adds a richness of colour. And it just amazes me as to how this works. I'm still working with this because it doesn't work quite the same as it did in Autodesk Sketchbook Pro, which is not to be surprised because I guess each program has its own quirks and ways, which is fine by me. I can live with that totally. That is looking quite nice. I just want to add some more of this golden colour over the top, especially this one, because this one's looking a bit on the paler side. This one here, that one, and I think I might be brave enough just to go in with some really dark, because I want a sense of shadow here. And I do play with dark and light. I'm not going for anything that looks like real gold, so if that's what you think, it's not going to happen. I just want golden tones. I love this on my arches. Has to be said. Right, this is a tricky one because it's so small. Yes, I could make my brush smaller, but I'm a bit impatient today. And the last thing I want to do is, this is a bit on the paler side, so I just want to edge these areas where that yellow is very pale still, like this one. It's better, and perhaps even go in with this up to the edge a little bit more, just to add that golden nature. And there's some places where I need a bit more of that texture so it ties in. Same here, some spots that aren't very saturated in colour. What I love about digital painting is I am literally painting with light. And whatever I do, it depends on the brush settings, but when you've got something that is translucent or transparent in colour, it is painting with light, seeing how light comes through. So that's those. Tell you what I'll do, because I can, let me add another, do I want to add another layer? Yeah, let's add another layer to this one. We go to the pen mode. I've got this pen here, but what I might do, this is going to be complicated for me because this is the first time I've done this. If I take the soft light, make this layer soft light, take that, change the opacity a bit, and let's see how this works, because I haven't really, that's nice, but it's not light enough. Not so sure about that. You have a look, let me take a paler yellow, there's a nice one there. Kind of works, I think. I just want to see if I can add patterns and textures. I know I can, but it's whether I like them at the moment. I don't think I do, so we undo that layer. For now, I think I'm happy with that as it is. There's enough there. So I deselect those areas, go over to the selection tool, which I've got set up so that when I select an area, it applies to all the layers, which means that I'm just colouring within that area. It makes life so much easier for I need to add another one, which is not a problem. This is it's the same, but it's very different to the same kinds of tools in Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. It does things that Sketchbook Pro didn't, so it's much easier to add. It's just one click. It's got various features on it that Sketchbook Pro didn't have, or whatever the paid for version was called, Enterprise Sketchbook 2021. They kept changing the names. And it is just a matter of me getting used to it. And I will. It'll take a little bit of time, but I will get there. Again, it's these lovely golden arches. Now I sound like I'm advertising for one of the fast food restaurants. I'm not. I just love arches, and I happen to like making them golden in colour, though not always. Depends what I'm doing, as this is a multicoloured extravaganza here. Just adding some shadow there, which I didn't do with the others, but it's okay. It's still relatively early. I haven't had enough tea or coffee, and I haven't really had breakfast yet this morning. Just been slowly coming around and getting myself sorted for the day. I'm trying to work out some movement around the house of my workspace and getting rid of furniture and having a massive clean out, spring cleaning, I suppose, spring clear outs to make space and declutter. I need to do that again. I've got lots of stuff here that I'm not going to use in terms of mixed media. It's too old to pass on to somebody else, a lot of it, because it's dried and unsuitable. And so I'm having to make the decision that really I need to say, right, I've played with it, I've used it, it's not for me, it's been sat around here for a couple of years, I haven't touched it, let's get rid of it. And in doing so, free up some storage space for other things that I want to have. This needs to go more golden here. I need to do this as a normal, I think, because that's got a bit dark, so let's just lighten it up somewhat. And that all, didn't want to do that. It's also the case in some other areas. It's adding that variation. This is really dark up here, but that's okay because I can add that. And perhaps a bit of lighter on this, some of these bits would be nice. There we go, that'll do me for now. Said it's just, this is the thing, this thing wanders around this particular selection key there, and I've got to remember where everything is. I think I've got the tools where I like them. This is very similar to how I had it in Autodesk Sketchbook. Because I'm right-handed, I want most tools over there. I do miss the little colour pucks and the brush size collection puck, because here I have to guess what the sizes are. Whereas with those, you could drag across, and you could change opacity or intensity of colour depending which one, and size and other things. And you could see what was happening to it on those. And this one's not quite so easy. So if anybody from Clip Studio Paint is listening, have a look and see what you can do, because I think it will be fabulous. The colour wheel's sat over there. I do use it from time to time, but not much. Not once I've got my palette set up, because that's what I use Multiply and everything else for generally. So for anybody who wanted to know how I add colour to my art, it's through a process like this. It's drawing on paper often. Sometimes if I'm doing mandalas, I'll draw digitally, and I may do a video of that now I've found out how I can make this work. So you can see how a mandala grows and develops. And it's just, it's me. It's modernity. I admire people who can use traditional media. I admire people who can use digital media, who do well with their tools and techniques. I'm still very much learning, I feel, all the time with this, and still very much trying to find my way. But I think I'm finding it. It's almost like I'm trying to do things with digital brushes that I would do with traditional art. And here's me talking. I could be doing some colouring here, adding colour. Coloration. This is one of my favourites. I do want to use Multiply for this, and I want a bigger brush. So let's go there. I do enjoy this yellowy green colour, especially as it layers up. Bit too much grey perhaps in here, or black, but it works for me. And I think you can see that as I add those layers, we get this lovely, I've got a texture there that I actually really enjoy. And again, I can accept this digitally, whereas traditionally I'd find it hard because I always want to make things perfect, to have perfect gradients and perfect smoothnesses. Right, it's saving itself, it does that, so I don't lose my work, which is great if there's any problems and issues. So even if I don't save the file, Clip Studio does it for me. But here, because the brushes are set up to be this way, I'm learning to embrace this kind of randomness, I think I could call it. And it does make me really quite happy in a way I never expected it to. And I'm learning how I can adjust tones. Look at the depth of that texture. I'll keep saying it, I really, really enjoy this. Right, I want to make sure I've got shadows where I want there to be shadows, so let me make this brush that little bit smaller again. Again, even with colour, it's that high contrast that I love. And now I'm going to use soft light. I need to ramp the opacity up just a tad for this to work. Use a creamy colour. I think that should do. And just along the edges here. I don't actually worry about light source. I'm not creating something that's real. I'm creating something that's a pattern, a design. And I do tend to use light and shadow in terms of part of the pattern of a particular motif or area. I do have a tendency to have light in my head coming in from the top right. So if in doubt, that's what I go with. But I've worked out this is what I do. So there's those ones. Let's have a look. Now then, I'm going to do these first, because that one would overlap. Don't want overlapping. Now this is the question. Yes, I do. I'm going to go, don't want soft light, we want to apply here. The soft light there won't make a blind bit of difference. And I do want to, right, okay. So I'm looking at that one from one to the other for reference of why I'm putting the darker colour. Putting the darker colour there, definitely. Let's get this smaller. Fabulous. Because I want to have a feeling that there's layers inside of this. And to be consistent with the others, perhaps there's that one. Do a normal, because I'd like to add, that's why it's all a bit clunky. The opacity was set to be quite light for the, and I forgot to reset it, didn't I? So I don't often use this, but I am today because I need this just that bit lighter. Just a bit more. It's better. Let's have a look here. I'm almost taking it back to where it was, I think. Oh, gee, that's really good. I like that texture there. But I'm still going to go back to multiply. I'm going to drop the size down again. And I'm going to add some of that depth back in, particularly to this one, texture. Now then I will go to soft light, and I will take that one, and I will take the opacity up. This is something I think I'd find incredibly difficult to do with traditional media. It's that layering of things. Digital art is both very forgiving and offers so many choices. But there is something absolutely, I keep saying this, it's so fascinating to me as to how I can, oops, don't want dark, I want multiply, I want this, that needs to come down. Got 60, I think I need to go down a bit more for the next one. And here again, I want to try to replicate this. It's going to take more passes of colour though to get it as intensely dark as that one was, but I can do it. And because my outside edge is so light, I'm going to leave it like that because it doesn't look similar to the others. Just need that to go that bit darker. Okay, last couple of things before I stop recording this for today. Let's do these ones. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I really like this kind of colour there up against this. Right, I need something smaller, and again we're going to have like layers going down one above the other. My voice is getting quieter as I concentrate, so let me reduce the size of this brush again so I can really go in there with this. These ones I'm not very happy with this colour. I think it's just too much on the too dark, but that's easy enough to solve, I think. Just remove that one, and let's have a look here because this should brighten it all up just a bit, I hope. Failing that, it's going, well, I know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to darken everything down a bit, get that lovely glowing colour. Then I'm going to come up to there, I'm going to go to normal, the opacity's okay, and I'm just going to add this just to lighten it up that bit, and I'm just going to take it there just to add that highlight. Gives it that almost feeling of being rounded, perhaps. I don't know. That's what I'm aiming for. I'll do for now. Yeah, perhaps not. I'm always going back and forth between having the areas selected, deselecting them, reselecting them, because when I've got that dotted line showing me it's there, it tends to irritate me just a tad. Right then, let's just, I didn't want that because I wanted, yeah, did I? Yeah, that'd be nice. Just that touch of got those darker layers underneath, which I quite like, but I want to go back in and really darken them, give them that glow again, almost a sense of depth. So I'm going to go over there. I'm going to make this brush just a little bit smaller so I can really control where things go. With this one, just want to make sure I get some shadowing in, especially down into this, the edges. Squeaky glove on screen. Yes, I wear one of these strange gloves that's got 2 fingers and nothing much else because that stops the screen picking up my touch, and it also keeps the screen clean from greases and so on. And I do, from time to time, big. Let's go down to that one. Yeah, that'll be nice. Just trying to get this. Lovely. Forgotten where I picked that colour up from. Oh yes, over there. This smaller one again. And I want a darker colour to go in here. But I'm also going to spread it along the edge. Give that sense of shadowing. That it's sort of like it's all underneath this. I also want some lovely bright orange. Let's go to that one. Let's have a look at brightening that up. And even more bright yellow. Just warms it right the way through and makes it really glow. That one, and we'll put it on normal, opacity down, smaller size, just to give that brighter edge. Now this is something I never learnt or never really did with Autodesk Sketchbook, was play with, I say play, use normal as a highlight. I often used soft light and so on, which is great, but it tends to add those colours. Now then, there's my image so far. I've done a couple of bits here with you just to show you, and I'll continue. I may not record much of it, perhaps I will. I'll see if I can get the timeline or time lapse to work on clip art, which would be great. But other than that, all I want to do is to wish you the best of a Sunday, the best of the rest of the week, and take care of yourselves. Thank you. Bye bye.